If you have a mixed-race child, you will be less genetically similar to your own child than to another random person of your own ethnic group that you might meet in the streets. A lot of people find this very difficult to understand or hard to believe. That's because they reason, but a child receives 50% from each parent, and you don't receive any DNA from a random stranger you meet in the street. Therefore, you must be more related to your own child. Yes, relatedness is a different concept from similarity. With a mixed-race child, however, if you have a white father and, say, a black mother, they will be less genetically similar to their own child than to a random other person. That's because as human beings, we are already 99.8% minimum similar to each other. But people of the same race are more similar than people of different races, and therefore, if you have a child with a parent of another race, you end up being less similar to your own child than you would have been, than you are to another person of your own ethnic group. And this isn't some theoretical problem that only racists care about. This is a medical problem. Why mixed-race minorities struggle to find life-saving transplant matches? That's because if you are a mixed-race person and you need an organ donor or a blood transfusion, you'll find out you won't be able to get one from your own family, from either side of the family, because they are genetically too different from you. You're going to need a transplant or a donor from someone else who is similarly mixed race like you, but you won't find those in your own family. Here is a boy who is half white and half Asian, and he needed a mixed race donor to save his life, because he couldn't get a donor from his own family members because they were either white or Asian, but not mixed like him, and so they were too different. And if you want to see the math to prove that what I said is true, here's Jean-François Gariepi, the French-Canadian podcaster. In this article he posted on Twitter X on August 25th, 2024, last year, where he did the math and he proved that this is indeed is the case. He calculates, for example, that if you are a white woman, you are going to be 99.95% similar to other white women of your own similar European ethnic group. But if you had a biracial, mixed-race child, say you are a white woman, you have a child with a black man, now you are only 99.948% similar, meaning that you are slightly less similar, genetically speaking, to your own child than to a random other white European. This graph explains why this is the case. Here in the top right, you see the cluster of white European people. Here in the bottom right, you see the East Asians, the Chinese, for example. Here in the top left, you have the sub-Saharan Africans. So if you're a white person, you have a child with a sub-Saharan African, your child will be genetically placed halfway both populations, meaning that they are now different from a random other white European, meaning you as a parent will be genetically more similar to other Europeans than to your own child over here. I also wanted to know whether the chatbots, the AI chatbots, could give the right answer. I asked several chatbots the same question. If a white man of German descent had a child with a black woman of Nigerian descent, would the parents be less genetically similar to their own child than to a random other person of their own ethnic group? Surprisingly, all the chatbots got the answer wrong. ChatGPT 4o said, he said that the parents would be more similar to their own child because the parent-child relationship involves a direct transfer of half of the parent's DNA. Here, ChatGPT 4o confuses relatedness, which is 50%, you get half of your DNA from your parents, with similarity, which is far greater than 50%, it's 99.9%, for example, if the parents are of the same race. Claude Sonnet 4 gave a piece of information that is the clue, namely that people from the same ethnic population share about up to 99.9% of their DNA. But then still gives the wrong answer, because so while the child will be genetically intermediate between the two parental populations, each parent maintains a closer genetic relationship to their own child. Again, Sonnet also confuses similarity to relatedness. I didn't ask for that. In the question, I asked for similarity, not relatedness. I asked also Gemini 2.5 Flash, and Gemini also got the answer wrong, saying that a parent will always be more genetically similar to their own child than to a random person of their own ethnic group. This isn't true. this isn't true, the answer is wrong. I also asked DeepSeek R1, and DeepSeek also gives the wrong answer, saying that parents are genetically more similar to their own child than to a random person. No, again, it mentions 50% shared DNA. Yes, you get 50% of your DNA from your parents, but genetically you are way more similar. You are up to 99.9% similar to a child. But if the child is from a other parent who is mixed race, of a different race, if the child is biracial, then you are less genetically similar to your own child. And for some reason, the chatbots can't figure it out. And the reason is the chatbots are, one, not really intelligent. The AI isn't really intelligent. Two, the AI chatbots rely on verbal logic only. They don't do the math. Francois Gariepi did the math, right? They don't do the math because they are effectively, chatbots are software trapped inside a computer server. They can't go outside of their box to look at the real world with their senses and figure things out for real. And this is why chatbots rely only on the text that they have scraped for their databases, say from books and news articles. And four, all of the chatbots have been programmed to favor egalitarianism, equality, equity, no racial discrimination, and so on. Basically, the chatbots don't want to give you the truth answer in many cases. The chatbots are leftists who lie to themselves.